Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're going to unpack a truly fascinating and honestly slightly terrifying medical mystery about the human body. We are looking at a case study that perfectly demonstrates just how wildly interconnected and sometimes fragile our biological systems really are.
So look at this. How did a simple bathroom mistake cause a husband's nervous system to completely shut down? I mean, it sounds like an impossible leap, right? Going from a minor hygiene slip to total neuromuscular failure? But as we'll see today, the human body is basically a complex web of dominoes, and knocking over just one can trigger an unbelievable chain reaction.
Okay, let's dive right into this and look at how incredibly fast this happened. Our case revolves around a 44-year-old man we're going to call Ian. So 4 weeks prior to his hospital admission, he starts dealing with sleeplessness and this intense, chronic thirst that he just couldn't quench. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago, and things take a drastic turn. He literally wakes up feeling his stomach quaking and shaking inside his abdomen, which kicks off a bout of non-stop severe diarrhea where he just couldn't keep a single thing down. And then we hit day 0, the terrifying climax. Ian is driving to work when he suddenly has to pull over. He physically cannot grip his steering wheel. His hands are just too weak. When he tries to stand up, his legs are shaking uncontrollably, and this massive wave of dizziness hits him. His body was quite literally failing him.
Unable to take it anymore, Ian rushes to the emergency room. And right away, the physical signs are glaring. His mouth is incredibly dry, and his skin is practically screaming that he is severely dehydrated. Blood tests quickly confirm the dehydration, but they also reveal something much more alarming hiding in his blood work. Something that completely explained that terrifying muscle weakness.
Now, what's really interesting about this diagnosis is what it actually means. He was diagnosed with hypokalemia. If we break that down, hypo means low, kal refers to kalium, which is the Latin name for potassium, and anemia means presence in the blood. So quite simply, his blood was dangerously low on potassium. But why does that matter so much?
Well, to understand why, you gotta think of electrolytes like electrical signals for your cells. When a nerve tells a muscle to contract, sodium rushes into the cell to start the process. And because of this massive influx of positive charge, the cell has to balance itself out by immediately pumping potassium out. Once that contraction is done, the potassium has to rush back in to signal the muscle to relax. It's an amazing little mechanism.
And this right here is exactly why Ian couldn't hold the steering wheel. In a normal muscle, potassium signals a smooth relaxation. But in a hypokalemic muscle, like Ian's, that lack of potassium means the muscle never gets the signal to let go. The result? Severe cramping and weakness. Terrifyingly, without proper electrolyte signaling, parts of his muscle tissue had actually started dying off.
So we know the how behind his muscle failure. But this brings us to the next phase of our medical detective story. Why was his potassium draining so ridiculously fast? We know that chronic diarrhea wastes nutrients, right? Every single day, the amount of potassium leaving his body was drastically outpacing what was coming in. But here's the thing, Ian hadn't traveled anywhere. He hadn't eaten anything unusual. So what in the world was causing this relentless illness?
The hospital medical team waited for Ian's next movement to collect a sample. And when they looked at it under a microscope, they found a shocking culprit. Giardia duodenalis. This is a protozoan parasite known to cause persistent, highly infectious diarrhea. Ian's digestive system had literally been hijacked.
And this brilliantly illustrates how this invader works. It starts when a human ingests an environmental cyst. Once it survives the stomach acid and reaches the small intestines, it releases trophozoites. Now this is the active feeding stage where they rapidly multiply. As they feed, they disrupt the normal nutrient absorption of the bowel, which is exactly what caused the severe bloating, cramping, and watery diarrhea Ian experienced. Finally, as the parasites move down to the colon, they turn back into cysts, are excreted in the stool, and the whole cycle continues.
But here is where we hit a massive geographical mystery. You see, Giardia is actually not very common in the United States without a specific catalyst. Infectious Giardia cysts usually point to one thing for US patients: international travel, or maybe consuming contaminated food and water abroad. But Ian hadn't left the country. He hadn't even eaten anything out of the ordinary. The math just wasn't adding up. Let's move to see how this builds, because the breakthrough finally came when doctors asked a crucial question. Has anyone in your household been traveling? Suddenly, everything clicked. The missing link in our mystery was his wife, who we'll call Cupcake. It turns out, she had been suffering from the exact same severe symptoms for weeks.
So tracking Cupcake's recent history, the picture becomes super clear. 4 weeks ago, she was vacationing on an equatorial island. About 3 weeks ago, after a hotel lunch, she developed diarrhea like no other. It absolutely ruined her tropical trip. When she returned home 2 weeks ago, the severe cramping and foul-smelling movements stubbornly continued. She just assumed it was a lingering bad reaction to vacation food. But then, 1 week ago, came the critical moment.
Because she had been going to the bathroom so frequently, the area was incredibly sore. One evening, in a moment of intense discomfort, she made a simple mistake. She wiped back to front instead of her usual front to back. When she looked at the toilet paper, she noticed something horrible. Dark, pepper-like dots. She hadn't eaten pepper. She was literally looking at concentrated parasite cysts.
Later that night, she was intimate with her husband. Neither had showered beforehand, not really thinking anything of it. And this is the smoking gun of our mystery. This simple hygienic mistake, combined with skipping a shower, led directly to oral to fecal transmission. The highly contagious Giardia cysts she brought back from her tropical vacation were passed directly to Ian.
Now, once infected, the cascade of collateral damage for Ian was massive. He didn't just lose potassium. His blood work showed he was completely deficient in magnesium, which, by the way, actually worsens hypokalemia, as well as zinc, copper, vitamin B12, and vitamin A. The only reason he wasn't showing severe symptoms for all of these simultaneously is that adults have significant nutrient reserves stored up. But make no mistake, his body was being rapidly depleted.
So the crucial point is understanding why this matters on a much larger scale. Ian was a healthy adult with solid nutrient reserves, but what happens when a child gets this? Well, in areas where Giardia is endemic, this parasite is a devastating public health crisis. Because it sits in the small bowel and blocks nutrient absorption, children who get infected famously suffer from stunted growth and delayed development. It has a lifelong, permanent impact on them, even long after the parasite is eliminated.
And just to show you how truly bizarre and invasive this parasite can be, medical accounts have demonstrated that these cysts can actually migrate way outside the normal bowel pathways. They've been known to travel to the pancreas and have literally even been found inside pancreatic tumors. Now, they don't cause the tumors, but it just proves that this parasite is highly mobile within the GI tract.
Okay, you can take a breath now. Because after all this terrifying neuromuscular failure and bizarre parasite migration, the solution is almost shockingly simple. The treatment? Just one single dose of tinidazole. It's an antiprotozoal medicine that swiftly and completely eliminates the entire Giardia parasite population in the body.
The doctors assured them both that by day 7, the diarrhea would be completely gone. Anne was hooked up to IVs to replenish all those vitamins and nutrients he had lost. And by the time he was finally discharged, his muscle strength was already improving. At a follow-up months later, both Ian and Cupcake had made a 100% full recovery. The nightmare was totally over.
You know, in a world of highly complex biology, the ultimate takeaway is surprisingly simple. The best defense is often the most basic one. Wash your hands very often, especially before you eat. Proper hygiene is absolutely the best way to stop this kind of infectious transmission dead in its tracks.
It really makes you think about the absolute fragility of our cellular systems, doesn't it? A simple mistake in the bathroom ultimately led to a husband's muscles literally dying and his nervous system failing to fire. It leaves us with a pretty provocative thought to end on. What other biological chain reactions are waiting just one hygiene slip away? Thank you so much for joining me today for this explainer, and keep asking questions about the incredible machine that is the human body. Take care and be well.